just going to make sure, yes, we've got a deck, that's good. All right. So, my name's Michael Dyson. I'm based in Melbourne, Australia, and I look after the Asia Pacific region for SOTI. I look after the teams here in India and right across Japan, Southeast Asia, ANZ, and the rest of the place called Greater China, which is a fascinating place to look after, I can assure you, because the world's changed a lot. Most people in the room may not know SOTI, but a quick show of hands, who knows SOTI? There's a few. All right, it's not too bad. That's probably better than yesterday in Bangalore. I've been in Mumbai, Bangalore, and Delhi in a space of 4 days doing 5 presentations. So we're rushing from place to place. It's a very short space of time we've got to do today. So I'm just going to give a quick overview of what we do and where we come from. My background is mission and business critical mobile technology. You might have heard of a product called Panasonic Toughbook. I was the distributor for a decade in Australia, looked after ambulances and police cars and fire trucks and power and water and gas. Deploying mission critical technology has now become commonplace. Everybody's got a mobile device. Everybody has got a mobile device. Most people have got 5. So the challenge is, how do we manage those? The challenge is, how do we look after those? SOTI Mobi Control, the M on this slide that you see, has been around over 20 years and is used by some of the world's leading companies, whether you're talking about US Postal Service, or I'll come to an airline that came up on the slide I clicked too fast before in a minute, but lots of different organisations across the world in hundreds of thousands of devices. The critical piece is being able to manage, deploy, support and secure devices, and that's what we do. But it's a lot more than that. Nowadays, everyone wants to know a hell of a lot more than that. They want to know everything about what's happening on a device. They want operational intelligence. They want the ability to remote control the device, remotely support the operator, remotely support the user in the field. And that's where our SOTI Excite platform comes in, which I'll talk a little bit more about. SOTI Snap I'll also touch on, which basically, if there's a paper-based process in your business, I don't understand why. Why would you have not digitised every paper-based process in your business? Because that's what Snap allows you to do with a no-code, low-code tool. And if you've got devices like printers in your environment and they're not properly managed and secured, you are a cyber security risk. And SOTI Connect deals with that. So why American Airlines is the first example? The reason is because there's lots of different parts to an airline. There's the baggage handlers, there's the people doing the check-ins, there's you at the kiosk, there's all of those different, there's the pilots with the iPad. All of these things must be secured and managed, and all of them are secured and managed using the SOTI platform for American Airlines. With over 2,000 staff worldwide and now over 700 staff here in India, SOTI is developing technology that is world-leading for the mission and business critical environment. We have, as I said, development centres here in Kochi, as well as development centre in Gurgaon, and we have offices all around the world, and conscious of time, I'll race to the partnerships that we have. This whole session, I've been told, is about partners, and that's where I come from. I built the partner community in Australia for the Panasonic business and the Fujitsu business and the Brother business and a number of others. But what it's all about is having partnerships worldwide. We have partnerships with over 400 hardware vendors across the world to make sure that their devices can be deployed, managed, secured, updated, remote controlled, and looked after for those 400 plus vendors. It is actually a challenge to be able to do that properly across all of the different platforms, whether it's Android Enterprise, whether it's Android non-GMS devices, whether it's iOS, Mac, Windows, Linux, it doesn't make any difference. You have to be able to have a single pane of glass where you can see everything in your environment. And that's what SOTI does. We also integrate with a whole range of partners, as you can see, Oktas and OneLogins and other SSOs, all sorts of different organisations we have to work with to deliver solutions across everything from the medical industries to the pharmacies to banking, finance industries across all sorts of different regions here in India as well, substantially. Emergency services, my bread and butter, back into the police cars and the fire trucks and all of those things which I've crawled around for the last 20 years. And partnerships is what it's all about, working with our distribution partners and our partners here in India. He says pushing the button and hoping it changes. We have offices, as I mentioned, all over the world, Kochi and Gurgaon here, but offices, our head office in Canada, it's a funny story, but our owner's just done a big presentation for over an hour about the history of SOTI when we moved into our new building. And he said there was a company called Microsoft knocked on his door about 10 years ago and said, here's $1 billion, I want you. He said no. So he's bought their building. We just moved the entire staff into the Microsoft building in Toronto. It's kind of cool, I thought. And on the side, whoops, there's the microphone going up and down, but the Australian office is the little one there. We've got a team in Australia, looks after the ANZ market in Southeast Asia. Enterprise customers all over the world, major organisations who have major global presence. They can't afford to buy or use a product that can only be supported in some regions because they are in all regions. And whether we're talking about Volkswagen or whether we're talking about a whole range of different international companies who need to have coverage across the whole world, that's where we come in. We've got users like, I'll just give one example, you've probably heard of DoorDash. They have 600,000 tablets under management with SOTI across the world, in every country. And we can do that because of our scalability and our capacity to be able to give them the ability to remote control everything that happens on every one of those 600,000 devices. In India, we have customers like Dyson, the pharma. We have lots of, as I said, BFSI type customers as well. We work extensively across pharmacies and other industries, transport, retail, logistics. Those sorts of industries are very big. And it's a growing, very rapidly growing business, which is great. SOTI is a preferred solution provider for the world's leading companies for mission and business critical technology. We can do everything that anyone else can do on a desktop in an office, that's fine, but it's also very boring. The reality is when it's difficult to manage a device, when it's remote, when it's in a warehouse or it's in a distribution centre or it's a long way from base, that's when you need to be able to manage it properly and keep being productive. I went through the platform before, but I'll just touch again on what these parts do one by one. SOTI Snap, as I said, rapid application, no-code, low-code development tool. You can create as many paper-based applications as you want, having one license with the SOTI Snap. Drag and drop the fields, create the digitised process of all of your paper-based work, and that replaces the need to have paper. Transcription errors go away. But importantly, in today's security world, compliance is mandatory for healthcare. Compliance is mandatory for BFSI. So if you complete and fill in this document, you complete and fill it in. We know who did it, we know when they did it, we know where it was done, and that information becomes compliance if you're having to comply with things like the new CB legislations, which are coming in, I think, March next year here in India. If you have to be able to show that you did that piece of work in a certain time frame or that someone did that and adhered to the policy, you need to know where it was done. You can't use normal MDMs to know exactly who did it, where they did it, and when they did it. That's where we come in with SOTI Snap. SOTI Mobi Control, I mentioned the core MDM, if you will, that's been around for a very long time, but far more capable than any other product on the market. And when I say far more capable, that's not just an idle statement, it's a fact. The reality is if you can completely remote control any device, have bidirectional communications with any device, and interact with the user to fix the problem on the fly, you will save enormous amounts of money and gain enormous amounts in productivity. SOTI Connect, the same principle, but now put it on a printer that's in a hospital, or put it on a printer in a distribution centre or a warehouse, whether it's a Zebra or a SATA or a Honeywell or a TSC or a Brother or a Printronix. Those brands that have been very, very large in that printing, in that industrial network attached printing. But the other important thing that it does is when you put SOTI Connect onto your network, you see everything connected to your network. Everything. You know exactly what's connected to your network. Security is now the biggest issue and the first statement we talk about. Everybody needs to understand what is connected to their network and how exposed they may or may not be. If you have knowledge, you have power. And understanding what's connected to your network, Connect helps with. Excite is the one, though, that's really creating enormous opportunity for intelligence. Once upon a time, everything about device management was reactive. Now we are proactively preventing the thing happening in the first place. We understand that a device, we might have batteries that are interchangeable. We understand not only what the battery condition was last month and this month, but through our AI predictive engine, we'll tell you what the battery will look like next month. So decisions about replacement of batteries are no longer guesses. They're actually done from the base of knowledge, and our AI is applied to be able to help people do that. But also we can tell you what the connectivity looks like on your device, the cellular connectivity or the Wi-Fi connectivity. We can tell you who's using what app, where and when. so we can allow or disallow productive or unproductive behaviours by having that knowledge. If you don't have that knowledge, you're again just guessing about the productivity of your business. And a complete ticketing system inbuilt into SOTI Inc provides you, as I mentioned before, full bidirectional communication, the ability to have the user in the field assisted by a talented or capable person in the back end being able to solve the problem for them and get them back to work faster. That's what SOTI Inc is really all about. And when we talk about live support, I'm going to show you something in a sec. SOTI Identity, our single sign-on platform to get into the SOTI world. So we're talking a 360-degree world-class mobility workforce operations centre. It really is a total package to be able to give you a single pane of glass. Visualisation of what's happening in your environment, operational intelligence about all of the performance of the applications, the signal strength, diagnostics that means you can solve problems faster, alerting systems, actionable events. We make you aware of what's gone wrong and help you to fix it quicker. Also incident management I mentioned, and device management across any form factor of device that you might like to talk about. I won't name the bank, but this is the devices of one bank in Indonesia. This is just the pilot program with the first 1,000 or so devices, but they have what's called Live View. SOTI Inc Live View gives you a live view of your entire network of devices, wherever they are and whatever they're doing. And having the ability to understand the entire assets that you have in the field, where they are, and being able to push a button and download the lat long from that and being able to understand where your equipment is. My mother used to say to me, "Where did you lose it when I lost something?" Well, guess what? We know where they lost it because we can see where it is. If it's connected, and if it's not connected, we can see where it was when it was last connected, who was using it and what they were doing. If you know where it was, the chances of losing it are far, far lesser. That's one. This one I won't talk about again, specific names, but you can work out if you understand the shape of New Zealand, that that's New Zealand, and I can assure you that's every ambulance in New Zealand. India's growth trajectory is massive, we know that, and it's something that we want to work with you, our partners and customers, to build a better solution. We work in the Indian markets across all sectors. BFSI obviously is a huge sector in terms of the use of mobility. Once upon a time we were all behind a brick wall and we were sitting in a bank. Now we're coming to you in the BFSI industry. And that mobility management is absolutely critical, and the security of that mobility management is absolutely critical. Obviously, cloud adoption has been very significant, but whether it's retail, manufacturing, pharma, or any other industry, it doesn't matter. Mobility must be managed and secure. Security is the top priority. ISO 27001, SOC 2 certification, GDPR compliance, HIPAA compliance, all of the things you would expect we have to have, we have, because I personally do more work in the public hospital sector as the adoption of mobility in public hospitals becomes more and more critical for the electronic medical record adoption. So that piece, I'm flying from here to Brisbane, but then I fly straight to New Zealand for the Health Informatics Conference, where I'm speaking again on these exact topics, in making healthcare more deliverable and more manageable and more secure, and patient data more secure on a mobility environment. The CB cybersecurity framework that's coming in, as I said, in March, I think next year, is all about governance, risk management, incident management, and business continuity. And that is exactly what we are all about. We can enable your organisation to adhere to the compliance, but exceed the expected standards, be able to do better. It's not just about meeting compliance standards, it is about world's best practice. And that's what we should be doing. That's what we all should be striving for, not just to meet it, but to exceed it. Large enterprise segments is where we really live, eat and breathe. We do deliver this solution to customers with 10 devices, but we also deliver the same solution to customers with 1.3 million devices. So we like the ones that are 1.3 million, don't get me wrong. I'm greedy, I like really good large business, and that's what we're after. But we do work with all sorts of companies, with all sorts of organisations. All of the listed things, you can read that, I don't have to read that. But being able to make the most and optimise the benefits from your investment in mobility whilst maintaining security is critical. And that is our core role in our business. Distributed locations of devices with fragmented ecosystems, having remote support, having the ability to deal with bandwidth issues, having the ability to manage who's using what application, where and when is critical. So why SOTI? All of these devices. We don't care the form factor or the operating system. Whether it's a laptop, smartphone, a kiosk. I'll use 7-Eleven in Thailand as a quick example. We started with rugged handhelds. They wanted one per store. It was about 20,000 stores at the time. They then went to kiosks. Then they went to vending machines in apartment buildings. Then they went to mobile phones they were giving to the motorbike couriers to deliver the goods that were being dropped off at the 7-Elevens. That's gone from 20,000 to 117,000 licenses in 5 years. They're about to add 35,000 Linux POS terminals to that. We'll be over 150,000 devices in 7-Eleven Thailand, probably by the middle of next year. So it's all about that comprehensive offering, 24/7, 365 global support, professional services to complement and supplement what our partners can deliver, as well as obviously our pre-sales engineers, our technical support here locally on the ground, and people like Dinesh Kumar, who leads our team here in India, who's got great experience in this industry, and he's built a fantastic team who have a really great group of partners that we want to continue to work with and build on what we've already done. And also, you don't need to go and buy an antivirus because we've got one built in as well. So that's just another thing you don't have to do. For some people, they'll go and buy an MDM that I won't name, and then they'll go and buy a TeamViewer because they have to go and remote control it. Well, guess what? You don't need that if you've actually got a product that has all of those things built into one. It means you take away 2 or even 3 products, maybe 4, and you have one solution, and that's what SOTI is all about. Security, integration, personalised devices, whether they're BYOD or whether they're company-owned, different ways we've got to do what we've got to do, but we know that they both exist in the market, to deploy, track assets, manage the devices with advanced security, real-time monitoring, centralised device management from one single console. You can look at the million devices grouped as you wish, as the organisation requires them to be, totally scalable, with local data sovereignty in terms of we host here in India for India, in Australia for Australia, etc. It is an organisation that's now 30 years old next year. We've got our 30-year partner and customer conference in Montreal next year, so please, late September, come along. It'll be fantastic to see you. It'll be a little bit warmer than when I was there in February, just quietly, but late September. And with that, I'm going to take some questions. I think I got it done in 15 minutes. Any questions? Offline? Good idea. Thank you very much, folks.